John, what do you feel are the most important qualifications for a district attorney?
Were we going to do an opening statement? Or?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, forget I said that. That will not be the first question.
I didn't hear that. Is this mic on? Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks to the Chamber for hosting tonight, and for our sponsors for sponsoring, and for everyone here for coming this evening. Deschutes County is a special place. We live here because things are different here. Our natural beauty, vibrant downtowns, quality schools, and spirit of civic engagement make this the best place in the country to live. But we can't become complacent. Part of the reason Deschutes County is such a great place is the quality of our elected leaders. We don't put our leaders in Deschutes County on pedestals. They are us. We see them on our soccer fields, in our churches, and volunteering for nonprofit organizations. And most important, we see them collaborating with the community to develop bottom-up solutions to our problems. Unfortunately, that spirit is missing in the district attorney's office. I can bring it back. My first priority as district attorney, and my top priority throughout my tenure of district attorney, will be keeping Deschutes County the safest county in the country. My team and I will do that by prosecuting people who commit crimes vigorously. We'll also do it by collaborating with nonprofit groups, with law enforcement, with businesses, with neighborhood associations, and with the public to develop innovative and cost-effective crime prevention programs. I'm the right candidate at the right time. I have 12 years of criminal law trial experience. I served with distinction and passion on the Bend City Council. I trained prosecutors and judges in how to keep communities safe. And now I want to be your district attorney. I'd be honored to represent you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Patrick.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for coming here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Here are 3 truths about me. I am a prosecutor dedicated to public safety and justice, not a politician. I am honest. What you see is what you get. And I keep my commitments. I keep my commitments to my community, to my office, and to the constitutional function of the DA's office. So, I'm a prosecutor. I've been working in the criminal justice system for 25 years. I have prosecuted and been involved in investigating every sort of crime that you can imagine, every crime on the books, just about. I've spent hundreds of hours with grand juries. I've spent thousands of hours with police officers. I know the job of district attorney very well, and I'm fortunate that I have a dedicated and great staff of prosecutors and support people to work with. I am not a politician. I'm not going to make decisions that are based upon what the media might, how the media might cover it, or based upon what politicians may believe that the DA should do, though they have no involvement or, and frequently no understanding of the work that we do in law enforcement. I can tell you that I'm just getting underway in my campaign, and I'm looking forward to having a conversation with each of you. I'd invite you to call at any time. And if you got questions of your DA, I really want to answer. This is an extremely important election for our community. Thank you.
I know this is going to surprise you. John, you go first. What do you feel are the most important qualifications for a district attorney?
District attorney needs to be a criminal law expert. You can't come into this untested. I've got 12 years of criminal law trial experience in this community. Also trained prosecutors and police officers how to keep communities safe. So that's a threshold. You absolutely need to be a criminal law trial expert. But A district attorney is more than just a trial attorney. District attorney has a staff of deputy district attorneys, and Patrick's right, the staff in the Deschutes County District Attorney's Office is top notch. So you got deputy district attorneys who can try your cases. A district attorney has to be a leader, a community leader for public safety. You have to have a vision, you have to collaborate, you have to work with law enforcement, you have to work with media, you have to work with the public, you have to work with business groups, you have to work with everyone in the community. And that's a skill I bring, collaboration and consensus building. But there's more. You need to be a manager. The district attorney's office is in essence a small business. You have a staff of 40 and a $5 million annual budget. You need to be an HR expert. You need to be a budget expert. You need to be a leader. You need to be an inspirer. I've learned that you're not leading if no one's following. I've got the management skills, I have the leadership skills, I have the collaboration skills, and I'm a criminal law trial expert. I'm ready for this job.
Patrick, you want me to repeat the question? You got it?
Same question. Thank you. The most important qualification for district attorney is honesty. Honesty about your qualifications. My record is verifiable. I've trained prosecutors and police officers as well. I've done it here in the state of Oregon. Okay, not in Liberia. If you don't believe that I've been a good leader of the district attorney's office, please reach out to law enforcement. Some of them are here tonight. Ask them about my leadership ability. If you know a judge, talk to a judge. You know someone in community corrections, talk to them. Talk to some member of my staff. The most important qualification, again, ladies and gentlemen, is honesty. You can verify my record as a prosecutor, and let me tell you something. In order to lead the 18 dedicated prosecutors in my office, you need to have done what they've done. You cannot ask them to work with a child who's been sexually abused and take that case to court telling them this is a must-win unless you've done it. My opponent here says he's a criminal law trial expert, and I have to respectfully disagree with that. He's never been a prosecutor. He's never tried a Measure 11 case. Not a single one. And I'm sure he'll tell us about his trial experience as we go on this evening. As frankly, when I was in the DA's office back in the 90s, I don't remember seeing him in court on any trials. Thank you.
All right, Patrick, you will start this question. For better or worse, the media plays a role in the community's perception of the DA's office. What do you think are effective strategies for dealing with the media?
Do you guys want this one up versus the one out here?
Say again?
This one was provided here. Do you always want to go out forward?
I do.
Okay, it just adjusts that. So
Great. That didn't burn into my time, did it?
No.
So, thank you. Well, y'all know that I'm a media expert, right? You know, I believe that it is important for the district attorney to be communicating with the media. And I've had a rocky road there, and it's a road I'm hoping to smooth out. But please, it's not the function of the district attorney's office to be working with the media all the time. There's so many cases that we work where the media reasonably wants to know information, and we can't do it because the law prohibits us from disclosing that information. And I want to just say, I think that it is important to collaborate, and we do collaborate. I collaborate every day with law enforcement, with the local public safety coordinating committee, with the Kids Center, with many of the nonprofits out in our community. And I collaborate, and my office collaborates every day with law enforcement. We're on call 24/7. I and my chief deputies and senior attorneys, we go to detective briefings every week. Okay, we meet with the nonprofits that are involved in the mission of the district attorney's office. And there isn't time to go out and meet with every local group that isn't involved in the work that we do.
So in addition, John, we'll start with you, but in addition to the media, the DA's position is a political one. Oh, excuse me, you get your 90 seconds to respond to... Boy, we're on a roll here today. Yeah, we're just trying to lighten it just a little bit. So, John, yes.
I'm responding to that.
Correct.
Same question.
Kelly's question, for better or worse, the media plays a role in the community's perception of the DA's office. What do you think are effective strategies for dealing with the media? Correct, Kelly?
Correct.
All right.
Well, unfortunately, this evening I joined a non-exclusive club. There's actually a lot of members. I joined the club of people who've been bullied by Patrick Flaherty. I'm disappointed by the attack he levied on me. The scurrilous attack that I haven't tried to measure 11 cases. One, he gets his facts wrong. So that tells you a little bit about who you're dealing with. Someone who doesn't do his research, but comes out swinging nasty. It's kind of consistent with what we've seen in the office. I've tried measure 11 cases. I tried a homicide case. I've tried serious assault cases. He's flat wrong. He's flat wrong. That doesn't stop him from coming out and bullying you. Look, I'm tough. I can handle it. I got thick skin. Big freaking deal. It's a debate, right? You know who I feel for? I feel for the people in his office. I feel for the people in this community who've been dealing with this for years. And they can't stand up because they're afraid they'll lose their job if they do. And some of them who have stood up have lost their job as a result. This has to end, okay? So, the response? Yes, I've tried to measure 11 cases. I'm ready for this job. And you know what? It is an elected official's job to talk to the media. You know why? Not to, primp your hair and dress pretty because you like to be in front of the media. No. Because how does the public know what their government is doing? The public doesn't have time to go down to their city halls and county commission offices and district attorney offices and courthouses. They're working hard. An elected official needs to talk to the media so the public can hear through the media what's happening in their office. So it's absolutely a critical part of the job, and I'm prepared to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your understanding as we come together here to moderate. And I know we've had a couple of errors, but we'll keep things going from here forward. Again, this question will start with you, John. In addition to the media, the DA's position is a political one. What is the role of politics in the DA's office, and do you think it affects public safety?
Well, district attorney is an elected position, but it's different. It's not like other elected positions. It is an elected position, but you're also a steward of the rule of law. You're an officer of the court. So your politics cannot intrude on your courtroom decisions, but you have to be involved politically to be out and talking to the community. And here's what I mean. When you're sitting in that office, in that courthouse, you're looking at the facts that come in the door. You better not be thinking about politics. You better not be thinking, is that person a member of my political party? Did that person upset me on the street the other day? No. It's none of that. You look at the facts. If the person committed the crime, you charge them. If they didn't commit the crime, you don't. So there's no politics there. But you're an elected official in this community. You're a steward of taxpayer dollars. People need to know that you're respecting their hard-earned money. So you have to be out in the community. You have to be telling people why you're doing what you're doing. You have to be telling people what you stand for. You have to be communicating to that, to local community groups, neighborhood associations, talking to city councils, talking to county commissioners. You have to be out and about. If you don't like that, I respect that. Not many people like doing this. If you don't like it, that's not a job for you. This is an elected position and also an officer of the court. And you need to do both. And I can do both. Thank you.
And so the DA's office is certainly an elected office, and politics does play a role, and it is important for the DA to be out in the community and communicating with the public. But this is how it works as a practical matter, something that my opponent doesn't understand because he doesn't understand the DA's office. I communicate at the city level with the police chiefs, the captains, the rank and file of the law enforcement agency. I communicate certainly with the city manager and the city attorneys, and you can talk to any of them if you have questions about that. And if the mayors want to speak with me, certainly, then I'm available. But that's not the communication chain that takes place. I do communicate closely with the county. You can speak to anyone in the county administration. I do communicate with the county commissioners when they need communication from me or I need something from them. okay? And this communication takes place every day by going out and working with the nonprofits here, like the Kids Center and Saving Grace, and all of the councils, the multidisciplinary task forces that the district attorney is responsible for administering. That's reaching out into the community as well, and letting people know how the DA's performing.
Patrick, you'll start this. Both of you have been elected public officials. I'd like you to give you the opportunity to characterize your time in public office.
Thank you for that opportunity. I have been truly honored to serve as your district attorney. It is the most rewarding position that I've ever had in my life. I ran for office for a number of reasons, the primary one of which is I believe that my predecessor and some of his policies needed to be changed, but I really had a heartfelt desire to be back working in the prosecution function. I love working with law enforcement, and I love serving you as I have, helping crime victims recover, holding accountable those that commit the most serious offenses in our community. That's something that is just very rewarding to me. And I hope that I have the opportunity, that you give me the opportunity to serve another 4 years.
John, how would you characterize your time as a public official?
Thanks. I'm proud of my service on the Bend City Council. I worked my tail off. I had passion, integrity, and every day I went to work. I had one thing inside my heart that I was trying to do. Make sure that every single person in Bend had a voice, that they were listened to and respected. That was a core belief of mine, and it's been a core belief of mine since. It'll be a core belief of mine if I'm district attorney. The kind of more nuts and bolts stuff, which is just as important, I'm proud to have created neighborhood associations, built a new police headquarters, passed the Equal Rights Ordinance, and oversaw the construction of the parking garage and the Oxford Hotel downtown. We did good nuts and bolts work that I'm proud of, but I'm most proud of making sure that every single person in Bend, their voice was heard no matter how powerful they were.
Next question. How would you describe your leadership style?
Inspector John, throwing us with the mic thing.
I'm a collaborator. In everything I do, I'm not the smartest person in the room, okay? Just know that. I'm smart enough, but I'm not the smartest person in the room. We get better answers by bringing people together, okay? And I think we can do that in the district attorney's office. I won't be the smartest person in that office. I'm gonna lean on my staff, trust them, respect them, work collaboratively with them. But outside the office, law enforcement, they're the experts on law enforcement. Local city councilors, they're the experts on city issues. County commissioners, they're the experts on county issues. Neighborhood associations, they know what's going on in their neighborhood, right? Business groups, you guys know what's going on with the business. The media, they know what's going on in the media. I don't have all the answers, but I'm comfortable knowing that, all right? You can be a leader without being the smartest person in the room. I'm gonna bring people together, but it's a fine line, right? You can't just say, well, everyone else has all the answers. I'm just going to facilitate. I'm going to bring people together. There's a point when you have to make a decision. You're the boss. You're in charge. The buck stops with you. So I'm going to get lots of input. I'm going to respect people. I'm going to get your feedback. We're going to work collaboratively. But when a decision has to be made, I'm comfortable making it. And when I make it, then I'm going to communicate to everyone why I made it. I'm going to be accountable for it. And if it doesn't work out, I'm comfortable getting new information, changing course, and starting again. That's my style.
Thank you, John. Patrick?
I work hard at leading from the front, and it's not because I'm the smartest person in my office. I'm definitely not the smartest person in my office. That's probably Steve Gunnels that's out here. And I do collaborate. I collaborate with my deputy DAs. I collaborate with my assistants. I collaborate with law enforcement in just about every decision that I make. And they frequently look to me when it comes to the more serious cases, whether that's a murder investigation or an officer-involved shooting, because yeah, the buck does stop with me. And many of the decisions that a district attorney needs to make have to be made like that. Okay, when the call comes at 2:30 in the morning, you don't have time to bring together a group. Okay, the call will come in from one police officer. He needs an answer now. And the collaboration that takes place is maybe down the road a little ways. That goes back to qualifications. You have to have a certain level of experience as a prosecuting attorney in order to engage in that collaboration. For one thing, you have to have the respect of your colleagues, and you have to have the respect of law enforcement. I'm happy to say, as an example, I have the Benton Police Officers Association endorsing my candidacy because they respect how I lead the office.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, this question will begin with you, Patrick. Briefly describe the role of special courts and how you have used them or will use them if you're reelected.
So I think you're referring to specialty courts, and for those of you that aren't familiar with that term, that means drug court, our family drug court, mental health court, our domestic violence court, which we call DVDSP. I really have been working hard, and some of you in this room have been working hard since early 2010 on establishing a veterans treatment court here, and I'm hoping that we're going to get there here over the next few months. Specialty courts, or what we call problem-solving courts, are very important in the criminal justice system. They've been proven to be cost-effective ways to deal with special issues that we encounter. So, for example, in family drug court, which I'm supportive of expanding to be a full-blown drug court, where you don't have to be involved with DHS in order to be a member. We know the recidivism rate is low, and the program works great because it involves intensive treatment and supervision. And it's really, I'm not good with the 30-second sound bites, but I can tell you that my office devotes a lot of resources to the specialty courts because they work and because it's really important in our community. Mental health court is another one where I've devoted a senior prosecutor to taking care of mental health court. The most senior prosecutor, chief deputy, takes care of drug court. So.
Thank you, and thank you for staying on top of it, Robin, and making sure those time cards are up. And gentlemen, thank you to both of you for honoring that. So, John, I pose the same question to you. If elected, briefly describe the role of specialty courts and how you will use them.
Thanks. I'm a big supporter of specialty courts. I helped create the first specialty court in Central Oregon, the Crook County Drug Court, in the late 1990s. To create that court, we had to work as a team. I worked with law enforcement, with judges, with prosecutors, and with the treatment providers in Crook County to bring this court to Prineville. I love my friends in Crook County. There might be some here, but I think you know it's not the most liberal county around. And in the late 1990s, to create a specialty court, that was a heavy lift. It's a heavy lift, but we worked together and we got it done. And I tell you, getting it done was hard. It was hard work, and it's hard work to running the courts, because it takes more time on the front end. So sometimes you think, gosh, this takes a lot of time, is it worth it? But it saves so much time on the back end, and you save lives, you change lives, and you make communities safer. So it's not hard to get people to buy in once they see it work, but it's hard to make it happen. And I am happy to hear Patrick talk about veterans courts. I've been following that progress for the last few years. I think if I win, I'm going to be fully supportive. Well, I know I'm fully supportive of that court, but I think I can make it happen. because I've created a court before in a tough political environment. We need to use these courts more because it makes our communities safer for less money and it changes lives.
Thank you, John.
You want to just stand again?
I'll figure this out by the end.
What is your position on treatment versus incarceration? And if you can, share specific examples.
Well, it's kind of touched on this a bit, but look, we need to treat those who can be helped by the treatment, and we need to incarcerate those who deserve it, those who've earned it, right? And yeah, finding out where that's a great catch, a little catchy line, right? But what does that mean? Well, look, if it's a relatively low-level offense, and you have someone with a relatively clean record, and they're amenable to treatment, they seem to be in a situation in life where treatment can help them. Well, if you give them treatment, what's going to happen? You're likely to change their life for the good. You're likely to keep the community safer, and the taxpayers are likely to spend less money. If you have someone come in front of you as a district attorney, and they have a violent history, or their life is too much in disruption to be helped by treatment, or you have another red flag, if you put them in treatment, there's a risk to the community, because the person fails out of treatment, they could hurt someone. And it's your job as district attorney to keep this community safe, along with law enforcement. So it's about the most decision you make, the most important decision you make as a prosecutor. How are you going to process this person? Treatment, or are you going to go for jail? Of course, the judge will make the ultimate decision about whether they go to jail. But what are you going to argue for? I am a big proponent of treatment in the right situations, but you need to be able to discern when it's right and when it's wrong. Thank you.
So the answer to that question really depends upon the nature of the offense, of course, because first of all, I will tell you that one gap that we've identified in the whole criminal justice system is that we're not pushing enough resources into treatment of those that are incarcerated and that needed to be incarcerated. That is, we don't have enough treatment programs in the Department of Corrections. We have made great efforts here, the sheriff has with the Deschutes County Jail, to get more treatment available in-house, you might say. But so that's an important thing to keep in mind. Certainly the specialty courts are geared toward offering up treatment and rehabilitation rather than incarceration, with the threat of incarceration being one of the incentives for the person to complete the treatment program. So when appropriate, that's when we put people into drug court, mental health court, allow them to go through the domestic violence court, and so on. I believe that addresses the question about as well as it can be here. I really think the focus needs to be on providing more resources for treatment of those incarcerated.
The next question, in your opinion, has Measure 11, the 3 strikes law, had a positive or negative impact on the court system since its passing?
Well, those are two questions because there's a distinction between Measure 11 and the 3 strikes law. But I believe that both Measure 11 and the 3 strikes law and laws like Jessica's law, the law that it requires the court to impose a mandatory minimum 25-year sentence when someone rapes, sodomizes, or unlawfully kidnaps and commits a sexual assault against a child under 12, something my opponent here lobbied against when he was a lobbyist for OCDLA. I would say that those measures are extremely important to ensuring our public safety. That's why I voted for Measure 11, and that's why I have the experience of successfully prosecuting many Measure 11 cases. There are individuals in our community, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that need to be incapacitated in order to protect our safety, to protect our children. And you just talk to a grand juror, a trial juror, a police officer, if you think I've got a jaded view here. It's the work that we do, and it is necessary.
Prosecutor doesn't make law, they enforce law. I was a legislator when I was on the Bend City Council, and I really enjoyed that. But I won't be a legislator as a district attorney. Oregonians passed Measure 11, it's the law, my team and I will enforce it. But know this, there are certain situations for particularly heinous crimes, serious rapes or awful murders, where Measure 11 sentences are not tough enough. In those situations, my team and I will advocate for sentences far in excess of Measure 11, and we won't be shy about doing it. Now that having been said, there are particular situations where Measure 11 can be improved. And when we talk about kids with no prior criminal record, I think as a community we need to have a discussion about, is there a place to refine and improve Measure 11? Do you want to be ruining lives of 15-year-olds with no prior record who do something stupid? I don't know. It's not my decision. If it's the law, it's the law. But I'd like to see the community continue to have conversations about that. We've had those conversations, and I think we need to have more. But when we're talking about adults, and it's particularly heinous crimes, I will not be shy about advocating for sentences in excess of Measure 11.
Go ahead and stay up there, John. It's our last question before we alternate in the part 2. So if you are elected, or if you are re-elected, Patrick, and John in your case elected, what will be your policy on the prosecution of drug charges, including marijuana? And what is your personal and professional opinion on the legalization of marijuana? 90 seconds.
I kind of gave you a hint on that last question. What the law is what my team and I will support. We might be voting on marijuana legalization in November. That's to be seen. But it's pretty simple. I'm not a legislator. I enjoy being a legislator. That's fun. You get to make laws, right? That gives you a lot of power. But district attorney has a lot of power too. You have to enforce the law, and it's an important position. The community tells you as district attorney what the law is, and the community trusts you to enforce it. So whatever the marijuana law is, after November, we'll enforce it. If it's legal, well, there's less to enforce. If it's no changes, we'll enforce it as we enforce it now. So, simple answer on that. What's my personal position on it? I'm concerned. I'm interested that the Colorado governor, Hickenlooper or something like that, he seemed excited about it at first, but now he's getting a little concerned about when the rubber's meeting the road. You have to see what the implementation is like. I think there is a place for legalization, but if we legalize, I don't want to see that cash stream being used by legislators for little piggy bank like parks or roads or something. Those are all important. But if we're going to legalize marijuana, that money better go into marijuana treatment, into drug treatment, so people can get treatment on demand. Right now we have a problem. People have to wait months to get into treatment programs. So if we're going to legalize, we better get beef up our treatment. But whatever the law is, that's what my team and I will enforce.
So that question raises the concept of prosecutorial discretion. Goes to Measure 11 too. And that's why it's important who you have in this position as district attorney. Okay, because it is up to the district attorney to decide whether to apply Measure 11 to the 15-year-old. And I can tell you I wouldn't hesitate to do that in an appropriate case, but it's not been done on my watch. It's the same with the marijuana law. Okay, now I believe as your DA, and it's also my personal belief, that it would be baleful, not healthy for our community to legalize marijuana. That's because I see all the driving under the influence cases, and we can predict that the more available marijuana is, we already have the Oregon Medical Marijuana Act, the more DUI cases we will see. The more DUIs, the more vehicular assaults. The more times police officers and prosecutors have to look at mangled bodies in cars. Okay, so, and I'm also really concerned about increasing the availability, both on a professional and personal level, increasing availability to children. Because we're seeing more and more kids that are getting access to marijuana. So The Oregon Medical Marijuana Act is the law, and we enforce it like we do all laws. But the question is, my time's up.
You guys are being great about that. Thank you very kindly. All right, we're moving into part 2, gentlemen, and these questions are specific only to each of you. So when we ask, we'll be sure we address you, and you have 90 seconds to answer. And Aaron, I'm going to go ahead and let you start with this first question, and it's for you, Patrick.
Patrick, you've been criticized regarding the amount of legal fees surrounding the January 2011 termination of 3 former deputy district attorneys. How do you defend the expenditure?
So, as your district attorney, first I was elected on a campaign to bring about some reforms in the district attorney's office. And I am certainly not perfect. My wife can attest to that. But the decisions I made not to appoint the 3 deputy DAs who believed that they were entitled to their government jobs, that decision, or those decisions, I would make all over again in a heartbeat. One of those deputy DAs lied to an elected district attorney during an investigation and was terminated for lying. Another of the deputy DAs lied to me. And a third created a hostile work environment in my predecessor's administration that caused 5 young female prosecutors to flee the office. I'm happy to say I got one of them to come back. It was the deputy DAs who filed the lawsuits that are responsible for the tax dollars. I had no control over how the Department of Administrative Services, the state insurance company, deals with litigation. I had no control, and no one in my office had any control over the course of that litigation. But I'll tell you that every elected district attorney in this state would agree with the principle that brought that litigation about, which is that deputy DAs, because they have the same power as the elected DA, are at-will employees.
That's all right. See, it's good.
John, the purchase of the at times defunct and certainly controversial city buses took place while you were in office as a city councilor. The subsequent costs to the city of Bend were significant. What do you say to people who accuse you of not being fiscally responsible?
Thanks, Aaron. The bus system gives you insight into my management style. When people came to City Council to talk about buses, we were hearing from employees and we were hearing from employers. Everyone knows that was a time of super high housing prices, right? So we had service workers, people who worked at hotels and restaurants, who had to live far outside of the city. A lot of them didn't have cars, so they had difficulty getting to work. We heard employers saying, we have difficulty getting our employees here, and we heard that from employees as well. So people came to us and said, create a bus system. You need to create a bus system. And you can do it by raising taxes. Well, Mayor Friedman and I said yes to the buses and no to the taxes. Here's what we did. Friedman and I, rest his soul, we sat down in the accountant office. We were there for weeks, perhaps even months, digging through the books, every line item in our budget, finding a way to build a bus system with no new taxes. You know what we did? Part of the way we could do it was to buy used buses. And you know what happened? You all know what happened. We bought some lemon buses, okay? We bought some lemon buses. I take responsibility for that. But what did we do? We pulled ourselves up by the bootstraps, we got new buses, and to this day, we have a functioning transit system for no additional tax revenue. I'm proud of what we did, and we made a mistake along the way. We admitted it, we moved forward.
Thank you. This next question will be for Patrick. Kelly, I believe you're in there for that one.
You campaigned in 2010 on the idea of making the DA's office more efficient. How successful has that been?
Oh, thank you. I believe that we've been very successful with that. And it began with restructuring the prosecution teams and case assignments within the office. It continued in how we use the grand jury system to make certain that we're not, that the cases were not being overcharged. We have brought IT, our information technology services, in-house. That's something that was controversial at the outset, but then fully supported by the county administration because they understood that the DA's office has unique information technology needs. That's increased our efficiency to the point where the Board of County Commissioners asked me to take back civil commitment hearings because they recognized that the DA's office could do those civil commitment hearings more efficiently than county council, and we've done that. So we really have accomplished a great deal with technology and just restructuring for the most part within our budget. So.
Thank you. And this question is to you, John. You have 90 seconds to answer, please. For the greater part of your time in public office, you served on the Bend City Council during what perhaps was one of the largest turnovers of the city managers in Bend's history. So what do you say to voters who are concerned we might see similar patterns if you were elected to the DA's office?
Everyone who was here at that time knows that was a wild ride time in Bend. It was go-go, nonstop, lots of crisis, chaos, which was good a lot of times, bad a lot of times, but it was what it was. And we did have some city managers leave. It's not unusual in city government to have city managers turn over often. But the question is about, I understand the question to be about the Deschutes County District Attorney's staff. The deputy district attorneys and staff members in that office that I know, I think very highly of, and I won't be making any changes. The ones I don't know, I've asked around, and I hear great things about them. I'm not going to remove any of them. That office, in this county, and all of us, needs some healing, okay? We need to exhale and say enough. The deputy district attorneys and staff members in that office are doing great work. I'd be proud to work with them. So there'll be no changes if I win.
Thank you, gentlemen, both. That is the conclusion of part 2, where we ask you direct questions, and this comes to part 3, the remainder, until we come to closing comments. This is your opportunity to ask one question of the other. You'll have 30 seconds to ask your question, so please be as concise as you can. You'll have 60 seconds to answer, or excuse me, 90 seconds to answer. The person asking the question gets, if they're not satisfied with that answer, gets another 30 seconds to ask it another way or to draw it out. And then the candidate being asked gets 60 seconds to rebut, to respond again. Is that clear? Do I make it? All right, my apologies for jumping around that. You all got that? Right? Do that.